Welcome to session 3 of the Living in Love and Faith course. We are in Brighton, a city known for its diversity.
Today we're learning about how the Christian understanding of our faith relates to questions of relationships.
Let's take a look at the aims of today's session. We want to understand how friendship and marriage have their roots in the Bible and the church.
We're going to explore different views on friendship, civil partnerships and marriage in the church and society today.
We aim to relate respectfully and compassionately to people with different views about relationships and marriage.
In this session, we'll start by thinking about the pastoral principle of acknowledging prejudice. We'll then watch the story film of Laura and Stephen. Our first Learning Together session is about friendship. The Bible study will be from Matthew 19. After meeting Julie and Alice, our second Learning Together session will be about marriage. And, as usual, we'll close with some time for reflection and prayer. Pause the video and take a moment to be still together in God's presence. You may want to use this reading as a way into the session.
We notice if someone treats us with respect and fairness. We feel understood. We also notice when someone judges us out of prejudice because they don't really know us or love us. One of the striking things about Jesus was his willingness to make friends with and show respect for people who were victims of prejudice. Prejudices can make us selective about who we befriend, but Jesus spent time with despised Samaritans and tax collectors. He was compassionate, respectful and welcoming to them, even when it made him unpopular.
All of us are conditioned by our experience in life, both positively and negatively. Often without even realising, we find ourselves making judgments of people with little or no evidence. Sometimes that means that there are people who are invisible to us, or that we consciously or subconsciously avoid certain people. We often make these decisions purely on appearance. What people wear, what cars they drive, or what hairstyles, skin colour or tattoos they have. Sometimes we focus on certain convictions about politics, theology or diet or education. We assume that we know what they believe and how they behave. Prejudices run deep. They cause major and persistent social, economic and racial injustices. Prejudices also run deep when it comes to matters of relationships, gender, sexuality and marriage.
We need to pay critical attention to our own attitudes, noticing our inner responses to people who are different from us and whose ideas are different from our own. We're all invited into God's kingdom by God's grace. There's no place for prejudice among the children of God. The way of the kingdom is to remember that every person is fearfully and wonderfully made. We're all of infinite value in God's sight and should respect each other accordingly.
That means we'll need to help each other when our prejudices become evident in the language we use and the attitudes we display.
We'll need to look for ways that God can shape us into more Christ-like people through our encounters with people who are different from us and who hold different convictions to us.
Before we begin learning together, let's watch our first story film.
I'm an avid camper. After I met Laura, I encouraged her to come with me. She hates it with a passion.
Yeah, we'll go do camping and then cry afterwards. We live in Hull. We have 2 girls, Sophie and Willow. They're very loud, bouncy girls.
I am 6. I am 4.
I work in a cinema.
And I am a carer for my mum and stay-at-home mum as well.
We met on a night out. I was with my friends walking down the street, started talking to Laura, and
I think I chatted you up. Before we got married, we were together 4 years.
it was a semi-rush wedding. Laura was pregnant, and my mum was basically telling me to propose and get on with it. Luckily it snowed that day, and to be fair, it was perfect.
I think we wanted to be married before having a baby because my background was very unstable. So actually marriage was about stability and actually sharing the same name. When you brought up in my family where all three of us had different names, it was something very important to me.
2 years ago I ended up being a wheelchair user. I was at work, my legs stopped working. There is no 100% known what it is yet, but it's been diagnosed as a functional tremor for the time being. I lost my job. I was a full-time chef before. It was really 12 to 13 months where I wasn't doing anything.
We have a food bank. At one point we were struggling. Not worrying about food was a massive help.
I was always the strong one, the one that kept the family together. Laura was always the one that... temperamental slightly. And it broke me because I'm not the strong one anymore.
I think it has put a strain on the marriage. I'm praying every day that it'll get better, and it becomes to a point where, okay, this might actually be God's plan for us. I get annoyed with the wheelchair, and it's asking for patience to not be annoyed at the wheelchair or the stair lift or the fact I have no bath. And you don't realise when you can't have a bath and have 5 minutes to get away from everything, how much it affects you.
I started a new job 4 months ago. If I don't work, I curl up in a ball and I give up in the world, and if I do, at least it's given me something to do more than anything else.
The church community have been a massive actually help. I have people there that I can talk to.
Marriage to me is about family. It's the bond that keeps us all rolling by every day.
It's about not letting negative influences get to us. We do actually have 2 healthy children, and they're loud and drive us crazy, but despite everything, they're actually doing really well. I'm trying to keep as much of the impact of it away from them.
I'm putting my life to my kids. I'm going to give them everything they need. They're making everything worthwhile.
We're Laura and Stephen, and we're living in love and faith.
Human relationships, together with our relationships with God and creation, are fundamental to us. They shape our identities. Good relationships help us to flourish and grow. They give us insight into others and contribute to our self-understanding. They challenge and sharpen us. Bad relationships harm us. They can be disabling and destructive. They can destroy our trust of others, bring fear and anxiety, and leave us with pain. So what makes for a good relationship? At its fundamental is love. God, who is love, loved us and the creation into being.
And in response to this, we're to love God and to love each other, to love this creation which we're a part of and receive God's love through it. Love is how all relationships flourish.
Love is expressed differently in different relationships. Ancient Greek had various words for love. The New Testament highlights agape, the generous and self-giving love seen in Jesus. It is expressed in commitment and faithfulness, and in seeking the best for others, in not putting self-interest first. The more we experience this love in all our relationships, the more we will grow in maturity ourselves. One key relationship is friendship. And all good friendship depends on creating a safe place where people can open their hearts to each other. The Bible shows us many intimate friendships, whether between people of similar age and background, like David and Jonathan, or different ages and ethnicity, like Israelite Naomi and her Moabite daughter-in-law, Ruth. Such friendships are powerful and significant. They bring mutual commitment and enrichment. Where you go, I will go, and where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Where you die, I will die. There I will be buried. Friendship is close to God's heart. In the Old Testament, Abraham is called God's friend. Jesus taught about friendship in parables. He gathered around himself friends who were very different from one another. He became a friend of tax collectors and sinners. He showed the deepest form of love for his friends, even though they and we constantly let him down. No one has greater love than this, to lay down his life for his friends. This is the kind of friendship that Jesus' followers are called to express in their personal relationships, to embody in the life of the church, and to nurture in the wider community.
What makes for a good friendship? What might hold you back from making close friendships? It's over to you. Pause the video and share your thoughts with one another for 15 minutes or so before moving on to the Bible study.
We've seen the importance of friendship in the Bible. Let's turn to the most extensive account of Jesus' teaching on marriage.
A reading from Matthew chapter 19. When Jesus had finished saying these things, he left Galilee and went to the region of Judea beyond the Jordan. Large crowds followed him, and he cured them there. And some Pharisees came to him, and to test him, they asked, "Is it lawful for a man to divorce his wife for any cause?" He answered, "Have you not read that the one who made them at the beginning made them male and female? And he said, for this reason, a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God has joined together, let no one separate." They said to him, "Why then did Moses command us to give a certificate of dismissal and to divorce her?" And he said to them, "It was because you were so hard-hearted that Moses allowed you to divorce your wives. But at the beginning it was not so. And I say to you, whoever divorces his wife except for unchastity and marries another commits adultery." His disciples said to him, "If such is the case of a man with his wife, it's better not to marry." But he said to them, "Not everyone can accept this teaching, but only those to whom it is given. For there are eunuchs who have been so from birth, and there are eunuchs who have been made eunuchs by others, and there are eunuchs who have made themselves eunuchs for the sake of the kingdom of heaven. Let anyone accept this who can." Among the many forms of human relationship, the Bible and Christian tradition show particular interest in marriage. This passage, and the similar one in Mark chapter 10, gives the fullest accounts we have of Jesus' teaching on marriage. And both arise from him being asked a testing question. Jesus responds by quoting Genesis chapter 1 verse 27 and chapter 2 verse 24 to teach that it's God who joins husband and wife together, and to challenge the question's lax attitude for any cause to divorce. In Jesus' day, his fellow Jews disagreed about divorce and remarriage. Some rabbis were very strict, others more permissive, at least for men. And when the Pharisees appealed to the law of Moses, permitting and regulating divorce, from Deuteronomy chapter 24, Jesus explains this as a concession due to sin. He reaffirms God's original purpose in creation, and he effectively offers women protection against unscrupulous husbands. So although Jesus in Matthew's Gospel allows divorce, he gives only limited grounds for it. And he says that remarriage may make the husband an adulterer, an accusation usually focused on women in Jesus' time. And the strictness of this teaching shocks his disciples. And in response, Jesus commends, in his reference to eunuchs, those who, like him, choose to be unmarried for the sake of God's kingdom.
What strikes you about this passage in Matthew's Gospel? How does Jesus' teaching about marriage, divorce and eunuchs help us with our discussions about relationships and friendship? Over to you. Pause the video and reflect together for 15 minutes or so.
In a moment, we'll explore the different views about marriage that there are in the church today. But first, let's watch another story film.
I used to be a captain of a darts team. I went to Rio for a weekend and it rained. That was bad luck. We live in Knutsford in the Diocese of Chester. I'm retired from financial services. I worked in banking in the local branches. Been together nearly 19 years. We had a commitment ceremony 17 years ago. That's just a public commitment ceremony, there's no legal standing. We met as friends through a church event. A few years later, I needed somewhere to stay and I came to stay here. I'd been divorced for 13 years and was looking for a knight in shining armour to whisk me off my feet, and Alice was helping me look. Yeah. So it was a bit of a surprise to fall in love with her. I was quite happy that God wouldn't mind. I was at peace with God. I felt, was I disobeying God in some way? But life had changed and God redeems us and transforms things. And because the relationship was creative and sustaining and loving, then it wasn't going to be an issue with God. I was about to depart to go to a theological college to train to be an ordinand, and I knew that wouldn't be allowed, so I stepped back from that. We attend a local church. I'm a licensed lay minister, a reader. I started working for the church as a verger. When we first went to the church we're in now, there was a gentleman there who was very welcoming. After a couple of visits to the church, he turned around and he said, "Any husbands?" And we just went, "No, we haven't got any of those." The community's just been very open and accepting from the beginning. We seem to be loved by young and old, and it's wonderful. We are truly blessed. Not being able to go forward for ordination does give me a bit of sadness, but I've had a lot of healing since then. We feel God has blessed our relationship, and it would be wonderful to have that blessing acknowledged. To be able to be in church and have a marriage ceremony would be wonderful. We're Julie and Alice, and we're living in love and faith.
God is love, and those who live in love live in God, and God lives in them. These words, highlighting love's centrality in all relationships, are used at the beginning of the marriage service. Marriage is a distinctive pattern of loving relationship. Marriage features throughout the Bible. Old Testament marriages were patriarchal, and some were polygamous. They were often based not on romantic love, but on social or political or economic factors. There would often have been no vows, no blessing, and at times, no consent. Marriage is, however, often used as a picture of God's covenant with Israel. In the New Testament, Paul relates to the union between husband and wife to that between Christ and the church. The book of Revelation describes a vision in which Christ and God's people come together as bridegroom and bride. It is a vision of the gathering of all God's people into perfect union with one another and with God. Many biblical stories portray marriages that were far from ideal, but this did not prevent God's grace being at work. God is present even in our imperfect marriages, in the ordinary, physical, and sometimes messy conditions of our lives. Marriage is not just a human institution, it is a sign and means of God's love for the world. The Church of England's canons describe it as a union permanent and lifelong, for better for worse, till death them do part, of one man with one woman, to the exclusion of all others on either side. Although the Church's understanding of marriage has varied over the centuries, Augustine, who lived in the 5th century, has been particularly influential. He highlighted 3 aspects of its goodness: faithfulness, children, and sacrament. They have appeared in various forms in the Church's marriage service, and they still feature today. Faithfulness is the mutual sharing of life in love. It is expressed in the vows to love and to cherish and to forsake all others until death, whatever life brings. The bodies of men and women have characteristics that, when brought together in sexual union, have the potential to conceive children. God provides marriage so that children can receive the secure love, protection, and nurture they need from parents and the families that grow around them. Children are not born to all marriages, and this is often the cause of great sadness. All marriages, though, are called to be fruitful in bringing life to others. The Church also teaches that God's gifts of sexual desire and expression find their proper place and freest space in marriage. The idea of sacrament comes from Ephesians 5:32, where marriage is described as a great mystery, mirroring the love of Christ for the Church. Like a sacrament, marriage is a visible sign of an invisible truth.
In Britain, fewer people are marrying, and those who do tend to marry later. Cohabitation before or instead of marriage is commonplace. Marriage is still seen, however, to hold out a promise of security, intimacy, and mutual care, legally protected and culturally valued. Same-sex couples have been able to enter civil partnerships since 2005 and legally to marry since 2014. Heterosexual civil partnerships were introduced in 2019.
The Church aspires to welcome and provide pastoral support to all, whatever their relationships. The Church of England continues to marry opposite-sex couples and recognise civil heterosexual marriages. Committed, cohabiting relationships, civil partnerships and same-sex marriages are not regarded as marriage by the Church, and there are no approved services to celebrate any relationship other than marriage according to the Church's teaching.
Many Anglicans support this view on the basis that marriage in the Bible is always a union of a man and a woman, and that same-sex relationships are never commended.
Many Anglicans also believe that Christ-like, self-giving love is also seen in other committed relationships, both same-sex and opposite-sex, and argue that there are different ways to interpret the Bible.
A refusal to recognise this, especially in relation to gay and lesbian couples, is often experienced as deeply hurtful. Many believe that the Church should affirm faithful, committed same-sex relationships, whether as marriages or in some other way.
One of the major questions we must now consider together is whether the Church's pastoral practice or teaching in relation to marriage should change, and if so, how?
what stood out for you in this session about marriage? What do you think about relationships, marriage and the church? Pause the video and share your thoughts and questions with each other for the next 15 minutes.
We're coming to the end of this session on relationships. Take some time now to pray for each other and for the church, perhaps using this reading from Philippians chapter 1.